Hi, and welcome to Mommy Diaries. We know this podcast, we talk about motherhood, parenting, and this amazing journey. Ya ho hodisa bana ba rona. Kasheko, I get make one as always. Get my favorite. Her name is Lulu Hela. Bona, Naluena. We are practically twins, apparently.
We are twins, but I'm an older twin. I don't know if are we twins if one is older?
You were born before me, but we are twins.
Apparently, Ratswana. So I want to see with this Tswana thing.
I think it's the cheeks. I don't know.
I think it's the cheeks and there's the afro as well.
Yes,
when you've got our hair up.
Yes, yeah. I do, yeah. And the body.
Maybe the body.
I like it by the chorus.
The body, yeah, Pasi.
How are you?
I'm good. I wore my Pasi jeans today because, you know, like your statement jeans, kitty high waist. So I'm like, I want to be seen lean.
Yes.
How are you?
Exactly. I'm good.
We'll see.
How are you?
I'm very well,
I'm
my
so
sis.
happy that you're here. And I want to address the elephant in the room. So, when I was in Bloemfontein.
That's an elephant.
Oh, get a giraffe. When I was in Bloemfontein, I obviously have always wanted to be an actress. And I remember watching Mutu Osinse and Sefahlogo sa Kitty.
Oh my God, no, Pasi, no.
You played that role so well, even though I knew you were acting, but I hated you so much. You looked nuts, you sounded crazy, and you are the reason why Face of La Chocolata didn't happen. Why,
Shame.
Mara?
You know, the first time I ever saw you, I'll come to a question now.
Yes.
We were at a casting for some commercial. I saw this beautiful girl, but the way you were looking at me, I'm like, what did I do? What did I do?
Really?
So this beef yaketi was a real thing then. Clearly you were beefing with me.
No, but I didn't.
Clearly you were beefing. It was not even like, it was a subconscious thing of you like...
I hope she's not crazy in real life like she is on
Yes.
TV, but you did so well. Let's talk about yourself. Who is Lulu? Where are you from? And talk about your upbringing.
I'm so excited to be here, Pasi. Thank you. I've watched your journey as well.
Yeah.
I've watched all the different programs, and I'm so happy to be here. Lulu Hela, I'm from the Northern Cape. I was born Godar. Actually, I grew up speaking Afrikaans.
I win.
Daar is a very small town on the map. You know, like when they do the news on TV, there's
Yes.
a very like
Dorpie.
dot, tiny dorpie,
Yes.
like one street.
Yes.
I'm from Daar, but I moved to the Eastern Cape when I was about 13 after my parents separated. So I'm like half Northern Cape, half Eastern Cape, you know.
Yeah.
So the Belinda thing that you talk about, we'll get to the rest now. It was
Yes.
such an exciting time. It was a
Yeah.
scary time. I didn't think it was such a big deal when it was happening at all, but I had so much fun because it stretched me. I did things that were crazy that I never even thought were possible, you know. But yeah, I'm happy that it made a mark.
Yeah, it did, because I remember very well. And also, you know, I don't take this moment for granted, because I'm not going to say I grew up watching you because now it's going to make you look like you are old. But
I mean, I am old. I am old.
it is such a... I don't take these moments for granted, because you are here and I'm sitting across with you and we're going to talk about your journey, and I'm so honored.
Thank you, Mama.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Lulu, back home.
So back home, when I was in high school, I was part of this really amazing church that was very youth focused and youth centric. So we sang, we danced, then there was a theater group. So when I was in grade 9, I get standard 7, grade 9.
Grade 9A.
Grade 9, we entered this acting competition. It's like a national competition, but we won the regional finals.
Okay.
And then we went to Rhodes University for the regional finals. That's where I set foot, go Rhodes University to perform at Rhodes Theatre. And then I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do with my life. Like the minute I set foot there,
Yeah.
it was it. But also coming back home, we were on TV. Of course, we won this 10,000 rands prize. Everybody, you know, it was like a 5-minute clip on air on a Friday.
Okay.
When I went to school on a Monday, everyone was like, oh my gosh, oh my
Oh,
gosh, oh my
yes,
gosh.
yes,
So
yes.
this acting thing was a thing now.
Yeah.
But before then, we're already doing, you know, performances, Kokasi and in other townships as well. And people were paying to watch us perform. We wrote our own shows, we dressed ourselves, we had dekretinyana, you know,
Yes,
to you know, as part of our dressing and our sets and stuff. So I was always just passionate about radio and then acting. But I think the church for me was such a crucial, I guess, part of my journey, because if it wasn't for them, I would have probably never gotten into acting, because at Goskolong there was no drama club or anything.
as like a subject or anything like
it
that.
really wasn't.
Now, when you talk about the art center, things have changed, because I remember, Lena, we after school, we used to go there, sing, play drums, and act.
Yeah.
But they're not there anymore. When I go home, they are not there. The kids today, after school, bajola,
I know.
or they're on their phones.
And it's such a pity, hey, because that's the stuff that kept us focused, kept us entertained, gave us these safe spaces and friendships as well, you know.
Absolutely,
And it's
yeah.
a pity that we don't have that anymore. But I think we should work hard and try to cultivate those spaces, because I think
Yeah.
it's up to us, people who grew up like that, to bring those back into our communities. But what we do now is like, we've done it and we off in Joburg and we, you know, we're
And that's
chasing
it.
the
Yeah,
bag, and that's
chasing the
it.
bag. True.
So I feel like we should be a bit more intentional about going back and just seeing what's there and how we can cultivate that, because I think art is what keeps us as kids. I mean, it kept me off the street and gave me such great values, and about discipline as well, about writing your own material, all of the stuff that I do now. I feel like I was doing it back then, but on a very, very small scale.
Yeah, that's so true. And then your journey, let's talk about your trip, your first trip to Joburg. Like, now you decided that I'm moving to Joburg. When did
Yeah.
that happen?
Sheesh, so after I got kicked out of Rose University,
You
for
got
not,
kicked out?
Well, I didn't have the money.
Oh, like
you
it's-
know,
yeah, if
so
it's
I,
that, don't
I ran
put it
out
like
of
that,
money. I mean, I feel bitter about it still.
Yeah.
But I ran out of money, so I couldn't get any sponsorships. I couldn't get money. I couldn't get funding, so I had to leave. And then I went back to Dar for a year and stayed with my aunt, my mom's older sister, with my cousins, and I worked at Edgar's
Hey.
for a year. You know, I was the communications officer.
Oh, okay.
This is me at the door. I
Yes.
welcome you in when you come in. And I help you around. If you're trying to get stuff for your girlfriend, help you choose. And then I wrap up your gift, I give you all the hospitality,
Yes.
and I usher you out as well. I did that for a good year. While I was applying, my brother had come to Joburg. He had been living here for a year. Then I came through. I did acting classes at the Market Theatre Laboratory and every other place you can imagine that offered classes, because I wanted to just strengthen the talent and work on my craft a bit more. And while I was doing that, I heard about auditions for some theatre company. That's where I met Abo Winnie, aka KT or Generations. Abo Linda so cool. It's a theatre company that did programs for the youth. We went to schools all over the country, doing shows about life skills, HIV and AIDS awareness, self-esteem. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'd found my calling, because it was so incredible. So we toured around the country, groups of 4, 2 boys, 2 girls in a group, and then and based on the language as well. So we did all the Nguni schools. But I mean, interacting with those kids, we trained as facilitators as well. If there's abuses happening, go higher, they could report it to us. We worked with social workers. It was a whole machine, address themes like teenage pregnancy. It just felt like I was making a difference, and I really loved being in that space. So I stayed there comfortably for like about a year and a half-ish, and then I was promoted to project manager.
All right.
So
What about
I
the
was
girl?
go officing, making the calls to the schools, also just
Yeah.
meeting the funders and trying to sell this program and to motivate why we needed money. And because I'd been on the ground as well, it was easy for me to say this was the impact, And because we'd done this for a number of years, there were reports that were done, just to record the perceptions, the changes in perceptions. Like if you met them go grade 9 and they thought it was okay to have unprotected sex, it was okay to be pregnant because I'm going to get grant money.
Yes.
But the show comes in, the conversations come in, and the other interventions come in, and then you meet them 2 years later,
Yeah.
the perceptions have changed, they've stayed in school, they're a bit more focused. So the shows had real impact. And that's the power of theatre and storytelling, and the shows were like across the board. From primary school, there was like puppet shows, and then we did, obviously the grown-up versions of those shows. So yeah, that was amazing. I did that, and then while I was doing the project managing, had a news reading job at night.
Hey, banna.
And I was doing commercials. I was working hard, hey.
You're working hard.
Oh, so mali basi,
Yes,
and you're
I
like, you
know.
are hungry and physically
Yeah,
hungry and hungry to chase this dream. You will do, you'll take all the avenues available to you. So I was doing multiple jobs until I got a call from a friend of mine who was working for some reality show. And they're like, they need a researcher. It's a show about hair. It was sponsored by a hair brand or going all over the country to interview people. and relaxers. I mean, I frown on relaxers now, but the show was about that, and how but it was nice to go around the country, just meeting women about their hair issues. So I did that kind of research, and I was coordinating for them, and then I got Zola 7, and then the rest is kind of history. So I was doing behind the scenes work while I was going for acting gigs. When I got White Wedding, I was working for this production company, and we were doing one of these big shows. I'm not going to name the show.
Of course.
Awards show.
We don't want to trend.
But I took 2 weeks of leave, unpaid leave, so I could go and shoot White Wedding, because I felt like this is a great opportunity. Like this is like a role of a lifetime. So I've always had to try to, I won't say balance. Balance doesn't exist, in my head. But I had to make those choices to be like, okay, I'm gonna not get paid for 2 weeks here while I go do that. And that did so much for my career. So I've always been that girl. Even when I was in Generations, I had this tiny laptop where the actresses would be chatting about all kinds of things, and I'm there like churning out call sheets, and I had this massive dongle, because back in the days we had dongle, guys.
You know, Wi-Fi.
What Wi-Fi?
What Wi-Fi?
Why what? Yes, exactly. So they really focused, So I would do that. So I've always tried to do both, because I've always been curious about what happens before I see Pasi on the screen. What happens? What happens before we get there?
And what made you not to give up? I mean, you got kicked out of school.
Yeah.
I know it because I got kicked out of AVDA.
You too?
Yes. And I went to work
now.
at our story is so similar, and I went to work for Makam for Senton for a year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So what made you not to give up? Because obviously that moment, I don't know about you, but for me it was like, oh God, why me? And you see other kids, the parents have paid school fees for the whole year, but they don't even attend the class.
I know.
And when all you want is to study and be what you want to be, but what made you not to give up and say, you know what, but I know what I want and I will get what I want?
You know what? I think it's that thing that's on your inside, hey? Like it's just in the inside of you. It's that fire that nobody teaches you how to be this thing, and you either have it or you don't. The sense of like, I want to do better, I want to be better, I want to be better than where I come from. And also just seeing my mother was a hustler. Oh my gosh. Like she worked so hard for us. Like once upon a time, she worked at this place where they were repurposing cars and changing paints and whatnot. They were scrubbing them, castil wool. And she'll get home with bleeding hands. So seeing all of that, and just like realizing the sacrifices that somebody made for you. How can you come here and play?
And be lazy.
And I think also when you've had to work hard for everything, Koskolong, I was always the one, like I was selling oranges. I was doing beauty contests, not because I liked the beauty industry or whatever, the pageantry, but for the prizes.
Of course, you want to win something.
So I could monetize, I could sell the prizes so I can bring money home. I was that person, you know. So I think giving up has just never been an option, because I always felt like there was something special about me. And I wanted to pursue this line because I felt like I could make a difference as well. And also coming from spaces where there's literally nothing happening. There are no resources, there's no encouragement, there's nothing. I just had this thing. I guess it's like the Holy Spirit in me as well, kind of going like, you can make this, you can do this, you know. You go to so many castings, and when you're back home, you think you're all of that, right? Because and then you get here like,
and then you see a celebrity on the queue.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I've got somebody with a bigger afro, somebody who's taller, somebody with a better. But it's that thing of like, what is it that makes me special? And just identifying that unique selling point. What is it about Pasi that feels like I can stand out in a crowd of people, and not to try to be like other people, because like everyone else is taken. It's not a cliche. It's reality. Everyone is taken. So what are those things about you that make you feel like I'm different and I have this to contribute, you know? So I think the church was such a pivotal kind of thing in my life, and crucial, because that's where I learned all of this stuff, that you were talented, that you were gifted, and they really nurtured our talents as well. I remember this one pastor describing what a talent is, and he said it's that one thing that you do very well, but with the least amount of effort. when they look at you, it's like it's easy.
Yeah, but it's like
it's easy. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
it's your gift.
It is.
So being in spaces that cultivated that gift and gave me the confidence to be like, your background is not your identity.
Yeah.
The poverty that you come from does not make you, does not define you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think it's that thing where I'm like, it's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
I want to show them. I want to show myself that I can be here and stay here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you are here.
And I'm here.
And then when all of this is happening, motherhood, did you ever think, oh, batlangwana? Did it just happen? Did you ever think you want a family? Because I hear everything is happening now.
Yeah.
When did this start happening in terms of like wanting to have a family?
You know, I was always that career girl, hey?
Wabonala.
Traveling, doing shoots,
What don't
whether I'm
again?
acting, whether I'm producing something, I've always been that person.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, I just never saw myself as a mom because I didn't think I was nurturing enough. And I didn't think I had the time to do it, which is funny because, I mean, all of my siblings had kids before I did. And I was the aunt who, like, you know, picked them up,
yes.
whatever, you know. So it's funny now when I think back, like, how did I think I wasn't nurturing? But I think reflecting back, I think I was never in spaces that made me feel like I was safe. Because I've got abandonment issues, like my dad left us.
Yes.
I never wanted to be in a space where I'm having a child with somebody who feels like they weren't here for all of it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that I told myself then, because we give ourselves these narratives in our heads I don't think I want to have kids. And that was my thing. I don't think I want to have kids, but I never explained it to anybody why I didn't want to have kids. But now, being older, I'm like, I never felt safe because I felt the difference once I met my husband, my now husband. I'm like, he just felt like home.
Yes.
Like when I met my mother's house, I'm like, this is everything. And he felt like home, you know? And that's when I was like, okay, I think I can. But nice to build a family with this person. And because of that, everything happened late. I'm a late bloomer, Claire. I was the last one to have grow boobs, go skolong. I was the last one to all of it.
Yeah.
And I think with the kids as well, and meeting the right person. I was a lot older. I was like in my late 30s.
Okay.
When I had my first child as well. So, but it's been the best thing.
I can imagine.
It's been the best thing. But I think that partnership is what has really just made it so special. Because you see yourself in this person, like both of you in this person, you know. And the child is here and he's bathing her and I'm feeding her. And it's like this entire thing. He wakes up for her. We take turns and all of the things. So yeah, I didn't think I was gonna be a mom, and now here I am.
Yeah, and
three kids later.
3 kids later, and how's that going? Like having, like you're saying, you know, making sure that the career is going well.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's no such a thing as balance. I still don't know what balance is.
No.
I'm still trying to figure out
a
lot of things because now most of the time you're on set, and I can imagine with one child it's a lot. So I can only imagine with 3 kids, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So you are a producer. You get home, you're on set all the time.
Yeah.
When you're not home, who's taking care of them?
Right. I think that having that support system has been so crucial. I'm so blessed that the nanny that I met right in the beginning when I had my daughter.
Your first?
Yeah, my first child is a nanny that we still have now, like 9 years later, you know. So it's been a massive blessing. So that support system has been so important.
Yeah.
But also just working these long hours, hey? So that's why I don't believe in balance. Not because
not talking we don't believe in it.
Yeah, I feel like somebody explained it really nicely, and I think it was Unomdeni at Agenda Women who said that, like, it's about finding harmony in the different spaces and different roles that you find yourself in. So, for instance, when I'm home, I am home. I'm not going to be looking at WhatsApp groups from the group, 1802, this is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I've got a team. If there's a crisis, other people will handle that. And being able to delegate. So when you're in a leadership role, you're able to make those concessions and be like, I've got a series producer, I've got a line producer, I've got a PM, I've got a whole team. The building is not going to fall apart. So when I'm home, I'm home. And then when I'm at work, when I'm on date night, and that's the harmony. So being present in the different spaces that you're in. When I'm on a girls' night out, I'm with my, you know what I mean? And it's about being in there and being fully in those spaces. Yeah. So you're not going to balance it. And also, like, it's about seasons. Like the season where you're working the hardest. Then, like, now I'm in a season where I'm like, I'm home a bit more. I can pick them up from ballet. I can take them to swimming because my staff is in development, you know. So being able to find that harmony in the different spaces is so, so important. But I feel like having 2 kids is like, it's manageable. Then you add number 3. Then you have to change. You have to move out of the house. You need to get a bigger car. It's like it's like 100. I'm like, please keep it at 2. Just keep it at 2.
I can imagine. And then when you go on trips, like a family trip.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced it, but in my younger sister.
Yeah.
And also because they're not the same. Personality. Yes. So Nema will be the one saying, Fina, come hold your hand.
Yes.
But every time I'm with her, I realize, I actually don't think I can do it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think my sister's really amazing. So my sister's kids and I, because she's got 2 kids, similar age group. My first one is 9 and hers is 10, and then our second borns are like literally a month apart, so they're like twins, and then I have a third one.
Yes.
So when I go on family trips with them, it's like they've got their little besties in the family.
Got you.
Which is really amazing.
Yes.
I don't like to go on holidays with nannies. I feel like when I'm on a break, they must be on a break to be with their families as well.
Yes.
So you do everything. It's about also just because you discover them all over again. You spend this entire year working, and then gradually you're like, okay, we have to go somewhere. It's an opportunity for you to get to know them again in a space that's different from home, you know, because home really homeworky, all of the things that we have to show up for. But on holiday, it's like we can be crazy and play. It's a lot of work. But I really enjoy it because like how often do you get those moments with them? And when people say, oh, they grow up so quickly, it's not a myth. Like they grow up so quickly, so quickly. You get these videos like, I remember this one year my husband was working from home and I think it was because I had 2 COVID babies. As in babies during COVID.
yes.
So he's home and I'm shooting and he sends me a video of one of them walking for the first time.
And you were not there.
And I wasn't there. But you must make peace with that as well because if I'm not working, so I'm not able to provide for them. You know what I mean?
And also I think Linda, I used to have those moments. If you think too much about it. But at least Papa
this is it.
It's not like both of you are not
there.
Yeah.
And also like as working moms, you have to forgive yourself. Because you can't carry this guilt, oh, I wasn't there, I am there. I gave birth to them. My spirit is in them. And my husband's there. Their nanny's there. Their siblings are there. You know, there are things that we have to do to make sure that when they get to a stage where they have to go to whatever institution, that they don't have the same struggles that I had. That's how I reconcile I'm not home. But also now that they're a bit older, they'll video call me in the middle of a meeting. Mama, Scully pizza, mama. And you just have to be like, mute yourself, like, yes, Junior. Yes. Okay, Mama is coming. Okay, Mama. All of that stuff. So it's about not carrying the guilt, because I think mothers carry so much guilt, you know. And I can only imagine how single moms do it. You know, it must be even harder. At least I have a partner at home who fills in when I'm not around. And I've had to get, with having 3 kids as well, and so close in age, because there's like a 2-year gap. When I went to give birth to my last one, I mean, not Junior was still, like my second born was still here. I was still cradling him. He was like barely 2 years old. He's like 1 hour mama, you know, like he's still a baby. And then I had to go and give birth, and then I come back. Now I have 2 babies, you know. It was really, really difficult because then I could feel the distance. I felt like Junior was like, you know, it's like, okay, no, it's fine.
It's fine. Now you have a new.
And now he has the words to be like, no, you like Lucy more than you like me. I'm like, Junior, come on, you know. So there's all of those things, but you have to just understand that everything that you're doing it for them. So it can never be a thing that's harmful to them. You know what I mean? And I think you do the best that you can. There are manuals, granted, but the kids are so different as well. Like you'll see this when you have your second child.
I don't know, miss me. Hey, fire, back to sender, fire, Bazalwani. No. You say that now. But have you ever found, you know, like you spoke a little bit about your mom. What kind of a mother are you? Like, do you sometimes I would say, Nema, and then I realize, I'm becoming my mother. You know, like sometimes, especially when you discipline them. They never stop. And then, hey.
The way Like our mothers make sense to us now that we're older.
Yo,
Because we've become them.
we've become them.
We've literally become them.
Yes.
There are so many things where like my mother's voice is in my head. You get to Joburg for the first time, people are partying and you're like, and then you're like, what would my mother say? And that's like your North Star. Like that's your inner voice, you know. And I'm so grateful that the inner voice that I have is one that kind of leads me towards the right path.
Yes.
Can you imagine people who didn't have that positive energy and their inner voice is the one that leads them to distraction? So I think a role that we hold as mothers is so important, because then we become those inner voices.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm definitely my mother now. Like my mom wasn't like a big disciplinarian, but I think between her and my dad, she was always the one who's like, you have to do your chores. You have to do all of the things. My dad was the fun in the family. Like he was the one like, oh, we're going away. We are sitting a letter go school along saying that Lulu Hela, but we're off to Kimberley somewhere. They used to wear matching outfits, and he was just fun and the life of the party, you know. And like he brought us into this relationship as well, because when he messed up, he would be like, he will go and get his friends and like, Lulu, like, I'm doing this for your mother. Obviously, like you're a child, you don't know what happened. And mama ukwatile, and he comes with his boys, Kontlung, and obviously she's not gonna stay mad at him because his friends are there. You know what I mean? He was definitely here. So it's always fun. So when I think about that relationship as well, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a great balance. But I'm definitely like a stricter parent. But I think what I'm trying to do now is because my husband is very like, everything is a teachable moment. He's a bit more patient. No, he's very grounded, chilled.
Yes.
The one who wants to understand and listen to them. And I'm like, no! Okay, I'll understand later. I'm like, no! You know? But like, he's so gentle with them. So, you know, and I think we're different people, right? And it's okay to be different.
It is.
But I'm definitely the ones like...
No sweets, no.
No sweets face. During the week. You've got weekend to have your junk food. You've got weekend to have all your sweets. You can. I mean, even now, like, it's so interesting, Shem, because, you know, when you're potty training, right, they'll want to drink juice and water, and you're like, you can only drink a little bit. And then put it back or finish it, and then because you know, we don't want to have to deal with this epsuko and stuff like that. My kids will make their juices even now. Like I have a 5-year-old junior will make his juice. Oh, even if it's like this much, he'll drink a little bit, put it in the discipline to put it in the fridge and be like, I'll drink the rest tomorrow. I'm like, I've done a good job. You know, just those little things. So I'm definitely stricter, but I'm also just like, I play a lot with them. Like I'm very playful. I have a lot of fun. I think I embody my dad in that sense. In that we go outside. I like being outside. Let's run around. Let's build things. Let's make things, clothes and all of the things. And my kids are very creative. They'll take Play-Doh. Uluya will make dresses on this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the designs. And they all draw. Like I have a photo of the 3 of them lying on the carpet with like A4 pieces of paper with just like they're all drawing. And the older one, you know. I think being present for those moments and just being like, they can talk to you. Like the other day, Junior's like, had asked me to make him pasta. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, we already cooked this. I'll make it for you on Wednesday. Of course, he reminds me on Wednesday. So he likes seafood. And Kontlung, is the only kid who likes seafood. The others just like, no thanks. He's the one who eats sushi. He's like, can I? I'm like, whose child are you? Like, how are you like this? Anyway, so I make the pasta, and then he tastes it. It's like, oh, Mama, this is so nice. Can I be honest? You know, the one you made the last time wasn't. But I had to say thank you, and I said thank you.
And they're so honest.
And I said, and I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, thank you for being so honest. I love that you're being so honest. Come here, let me give you a hug. But I'm like, like the effort I put in, you know, how dare you?
When Nema tells me like face to face, and then she doesn't even say, she's like, you know what? Because Nelson cooks better. So when she's with Nelson, it's like, yo, what a good weekend. I'm like, what did you do? Yay.
My
Ke
husband
jele
is
ha
also that.
monate.
Yeah, the better cook.
And then I'm
Shem.
like, hey, it is well, because
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how to cook like him.
And I'm like, you have to understand, like, this is effort for me.
yeah.
It's effort. When I make it, it's
Yeah.
effort, you know. So he understands that, to be like, Shem, mama will try ile Shem, you know.
Yes.
At least umile a stove in it, and she made the pots. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but it's nice having those honest conversations as well, and conversations around boys now, because like my daughter's 9.
Yo.
You do the discussions around crushes. I'm like, I don't want to hear about crushes, but you have to be like, yeah, okay, because you want to hear.
Yeah.
You have to hear, because how do you guide if you don't hear?
Did you have that kind of relationship with your mom where you were able to, okay, I was about to say, guy.
I mean, my mom, I think she sat me down when I was about 11. And then we had a chat about the birds and the bees. And then she said to me, you will tell your sister. As in, she's not having, when it's your sister's turn, you are having the conversation with her. I'm done. Like, if it say, my work here is done. And it's that thing of like, if you sleep with a boy, you're going to fall pregnant.
I know.
And you're like, okay, so just lying next to a boy, you're going to be pregnant.
And even if you would kiss a boy, there was a time when I was young and this boy hugged me and kissed me, and I felt like you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Because my mom was so
It's stressful.
Like my mom was so. I could even and my mom came up profita at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. She used to use the Bible profita. So I wouldn't understand how is this my mom
Yes.
talking or
Oh.
it's
God. It's the voice of God.
How ka ropala le moshimane? Ke tlo bona ka mangwele. Oh, we put a mangwele a tla be a le jwang. And then, like you're saying, it took a while for us to be even think about sex, because I'm thinking, if I would sleep with a boy, my mom would bona mangwele. I don't know, maybe I would expand or what, but she would say,
oh no, our mothers were so good at that.
Yeah.
So there's no conversation around like
Yeah.
boys, this and that. It's only when I got older where I was like started chatting to her when like in my like very, very, very late teens.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm a late bloomer. Even having your first boyfriend, I was already at varsity when that happened. I just high school. What do you mean boyfriend? Like
What uniform?
yeah,
It
like,
doesn't make sense
what are you talking
at
about?
all, yeah.
And then you had incidents where like your classmate, like your
pregnant.
deskie. And it's like the teachers use it against you. Ugarili when are you doing the same thing? And so so there was no conversation around that. But I think she had a good strategy in that. Like she wanted to hear just enough, and then she put that fear of God in you.
Yes.
Because no mtaba, like you just knew that like what am I gonna say to my mom?
Yeah.
If this what am I gonna say to my mom? So she had that conversation. So my sister turned 11, I said to her, this is what's going to happen to you. She's like, hi, Lulu. Hi. Because obviously she's like 6 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Different generation altogether. And we laugh about it now, but I'm like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, but my mother didn't tell me. So what I told you was already like a stretch for me, given where I come from. So understand that I come from like no communication about anything. And she's like, I was married when I was 18. And I wasn't going to speak to my mother about this. And the culture was so different back then, you know. And I wanted to safeguard you so you don't have to go through the same pitfalls as I did. And you must stay at school because I couldn't finish, school and all of the things I didn't have. I wanted you to have them. And I think it's a similar sense for us as well.
And how are you doing it with your firstborn without instilling too much fear, like how we were brought up? Because now we have to tell them the truth. They know the truth. They know you're not going to kiss a boy and get pregnant.
Yeah.
And there's no more profit here.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that you teach her without instilling that fear that we had?
It's those conversations around the sense of self-worth and self-esteem, right? Because I think about knowing yourself is such a crucial thing. Because when you know yourself and your value as a young woman, as a young person, you move differently in the world. So when you are somebody who's confident and has a high self-esteem, comes from this really solid background that says that you can have anything, you can be anything, you can be anyone, the world is your oyster. There's no pressure to experiment with peer pressure because you know yourself and your path is so different to you. So it's about having those self-esteem conversations around choices and the repercussions, because and just planting the conversation about being seed conscious, because every action is a seed that you plant. So are you going to be happy with the fruit that you plant? So it's like a gentle kind of a way where you're not hiding anything, but you're trying to be like, you are this amazing, incredible human being. You know what I mean? And if you have these values and you've got things that you aspire to, then the choices that you make for yourself and for your path are different.
Yeah.
Because if you make this choice that's going to work against where you want to go, that's obviously going to be to your detriment. You know what I mean? And it's not a preachy thing, but it's about
the truth.
raising kids who have a
Yeah.
very strong self of sense that they're not influenced by the crowd. I think that's what my parents did very well. That's what my mom did very well, where I had groups of friends and whatnot, but I was very clear about who I was and what I wanted, and I wasn't fazed by even getting to Joburg and getting. I remember when I was on Generations, I had like a little black Polo player. You know, my pride and joy was fully paid, and had been driving this car for like ages, and I didn't want to change it because I'm like, I'm saving for important things. I'm trying to buy a house and all the things, and then the Fame Generation happens. And I remember being in town. My sister used to work at Bank City in town, so I've gone to pick her up. We used to stay together.
Yeah.
I'm at the traffic light, and the taxi driver's next to me.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then the people open the windows, and my window was open because my aircon is not working. I need the fresh air from outside. And they're like, Belinda. Oh, drive more. Oh, Belinda. And I pop my head out. I'm like, at least in the same old way, you know, I'm driving a car. Taxi anyway. But also being around like other artists who are driving better vehicles and this and that and their lifestyle.
Yes,
I was just never affected by that. So I feel like what you are like in your late teens kind of stays with you. You carry those tools and those coping mechanisms and those values into your adulthood. So because the paper shy pale, but even now, so for the I'm like school fees and bonds versus all of those things.
And I always say if I was a slave queen, I'd be like a very woke slave queen.
Yes.
I'd be like that slave queen. Okay, like you're saying,
totally.
Bond.
Yeah.
What you call loyalty, what you I'm the same. You're right. It's all about like what you want.
Yeah, knowing what matters
and
to
what
you.
matters to you.
Yeah.
Because for those people, those G-Wagons matters to them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we've got different life patterns. We come from
Yes.
different backgrounds. We've got different intentions, and like our lives are not the same.
Yeah.
Even if we're in the same career line or path, it's so different.
Yeah.
Some people have it easy, Hela.
Yes, they
We have
do.
had to grind our way, Tina, and you
yeah.
know, and really like show up. And I mean, I've worked as a researcher, coordinator, production manager, production, all of the, you know what I mean? So it's nice for me now because I'm like, as an executive producer, whatever I'm asking you to do, I know how to do that. I'm not asking you to do something I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is why when I do my corporate films, I can keep the crew very tight because I'm like, hey, the line items,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
we have to see imali bayingena. I can
Yes.
make those calls because I have literally worked my way up, you know.
And you spoke a little bit about guilt, you know.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to women out there who are working very hard and either single or married? Because sometimes some people are married but they don't have the same help that you had with your husband. What advice would you give to them? Because the guilt is real.
The guilt is so
I've
real.
experienced it, especially recently.
Yeah.
I was doing a heavy storyline and sometimes the guilt you don't walk around with the guilt. It comes and goes. Because I remember
totally.
7 o'clock I'm on set. When I come back, she's sleeping.
Oh.
And I remember Nema saying, I don't want to be an actress.
Oh.
And I didn't ask her. I was just chilling and watching TV.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to be an actress. I'm like, Nema, why? And she's like, I don't want to be like you.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yeah, and I cried because she said, I don't want to be like, what do you mean you don't want to be like me? She's like, you always at work. And the guilt is like, I'm jealous of her relationship with her dad.
I know.
Because I feel like
he has the
it almost feels
time.
like I was never there. Because from the beginning, you know, you go back to where, you know how soapies are.
I
you
know.
are like,
yeah.
a story is yours, a story after
Yeah.
a story. And it's not like I don't know how to fight the guilt. So I'm asking this on behalf of myself because I recently felt like that, especially after she said to me, I don't want to be an actress because I hardly see you.
The guilt is so real. I think how I reconcile is that I think moms must know that they're doing the best that they can. Yeah. Like, you're doing your best. Yeah. That's my thing in life. If I know with everything, if I know I've given it my absolute best, if it's an audition for like a massive role, you put yourself under so much pressure, you've gone to the coach, you've learned the lines, you've given it your best. Yeah. when you give it your best, then you don't have to feel that guilt. And it's obviously easier said than done. And I think everything that we do is for our children. They are our legacy. You know what I mean? You want to create a life for them that is so much better than what you had growing up. And also so people don't have to like resort to different ways of living because they don't have certain things in life. So I think me knowing that I'm doing it for them, it gives me a little bit of a peace. It doesn't take the guilt away entirely. And I think it's about those conversations. What are you telling yourself?
Yeah.
What is that narrative in your head about like why you're not home right now? I'm not out partying. I'm not out doing like, I'm not out neglecting them. I'm not. This
You're
is
doing
for
it for
them.
them.
I mean, Junior's like, I'm going to work at Hela Media. And it just makes me laugh and makes me so happy at the same time because I'm
proud.
building it for them,
Absolutely.
My daughter's very similar to Nima in that she doesn't like, it's just like you're never around.
They don't get it.
We don't see you much. And
Yeah.
like you can see the shock in her face when she comes back from school.
And she
and
finds
I'm
you.
home.
Yes, Linda.
Mama, you home?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's such a big thing for them. But I think also as they get older, they will understand. And I think remember also like motherhood is a spiritual contract. So over and above the things that we give them in the physical sense, they carry our spirits. And like that's why you know when your child is not okay. You can tell.
You can feel
that's
it.
why they know when you've had a tough day at work or you've had a fight. They can sense it. So in that same breath, they know your intentions, that you're out there in the world, you're grinding, you're doing it for them, you know. And the results show because we're not working for nothing. They live a life that other kids don't live because mama has to wake up at 4 a.m. to be picked up at 5 a.m. for an early call and stuff like that. But I remember like in the earlier years, especially when I started working on Isidingo, because I was line producing and acting on the show. And Uluya was about 8 months and I didn't see her. I would leave before she woke up in the morning,
and then
and I
when
would
you
come
get
home. I'm like, oh my gosh! In a 24-hour, I was killer. In a 24-hour cycle, you would not have seen her. Like you wouldn't have seen her ehleli, you know. So it's tough, but you know that you're building this for them. It's so important to pat ourselves in the back as well and be like, you could choose not to. You know, you could choose to not to, but you're not that person, and you want different for them. Therefore, you know, it comes with all of these sacrifices.
And lastly, what is there like a moment, motherhood, like we born more? I did well. Give me that moment where you looked at yourself, hi man, hi Lulu, hi tat.
You know, there's like moments, Mama. Can I talk about moments?
Yes.
So you know how we have these parent-teacher meetings, right? To hear about how your kid is doing academically, but just how they're adjusting, what their EQ levels look like, and all of the things. For me, it's always like going, and I had those this week actually, 2 meetings for both my 2 older kids, and just hearing how kind they are, and how they look after their classmates, and how they've got empathy, and how they are just generous and just giving, and they don't like to be in spaces that are violent. I mean, my junior's teacher was actually saying that I know that a lot of boys in this age are very aggressive. He doesn't like being in those spaces because he doesn't like to fight, and he gravitates towards the kinder kids, the ones who make him feel safe, where he can make them feel safe as well, where they're just playing and they're being creative. And he's such a gentleman. He will say, please, thank you. Can I do this for you? Are you okay? You don't look okay. Oh, but you've got a frown on your face. So raising kids who feel like kids who are kind, man, that's a massive thing. And then just on the academics last year, because Luya was in grade 2, and she was very competitive, So they had this commendation go long, and we had been working really hard with her, getting homework, because I'm like, she's getting older now. You know how they love these devices, right? It's like, okay, no, your tablet, you can only be on the tablet for this amount of time, and then it switches off, and then you have to do other things. And so we'd been doing the homeworks and the projects, and just really just working on her, And I mean, she scooped out so many certificates, and she was in the top 5 in her grade, and all of those things where I'm like,
you did well.
Pretty girl, smart girl, kind girl, hardworking girl. This is the girl I want to raise. You know what I mean? So I think it's such great, man, being a mother and being able to see your kids being like solid human beings and kind human beings where I don't have to worry. I mean, I can,
Worry.
if anything should happen
Yes.
to me and they have to be raised
By
by
someone else, then you would have done a good job.
you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
Kids that can be in this world and just add value and
Yeah.
make a difference.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, well done, Mama.
Thank you. I mean, still a long road
It's
because
a
they're
long
young,
road,
but I think
yes.
the foundation is there.
Yes, yeah. Any last words that you want to share with the moms out there just to encourage them, especially the ones who are working hard like us?
Yeah, I think moms are superhumans. Hey, they really are. I think it's so important to take time for yourself, to do things that you love, things that make you feel that you can reconnect with yourself as well, because you can't, I mean, people talk a lot about you can't pour from an empty cup. I think motherhood is not the absence of your life, your own personal life as well. Like if you can find a way to cultivate your friendships and your relationships and just your hobbies as well, because we are multifaceted human beings, you know, we're not meant to be just one thing. And that's why we thrive at work, we thrive at home, we thrive in families. Ribo rahadi, ribo auntie, ribo, you know, we are mentors as well to young people coming into the industry as well. So I think moms, just take time to yourself and don't feel guilty. It's taken me a lot to get to this point where I'm like, I can just go to and have like a young massage and not feel like I have to just be like calling the nanny, are they okay, are they okay, you know. And just I think it's important to find that tribe. It's hard to find a tribe, right? But a tribe of supportive women, like-minded women, where you can share your experiences. If you're having a tough break at work or things are not working out,
you can call.
yeah, you can call. They're on speed dial. It's like they're your sisters. And girls don't do a lot. Don't do this a lot for each other, and I think we really should. You know, girls can be very competitive and stuff. So finding that tribe that you can vibe with, that you can be vulnerable with, they can see you at your highest and your lowest is so important. And self-care is important, whatever that looks like for you. If it's reading a book in the garden or taking a walk, I mean, I love to take walks. Like about 6 p.m. if I'm not shooting, getting my steps in also so important. But take care of yourself and just know that you're giving it your all, you're doing your best. And that's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, this was fun. And you are making me speak Sesotho. I don't even know Sesotho. But you make it sound so, you know, glossy, you know, I must come go bloom. And just spend a month. Just a young man.
Movie and
yes, definitely. No. I have a storyline for us. We're going to play sisters. You know, our parents, whatever
your
they
dad
are.
maybe.
Yes. But one was Xhosa, one was Sotho. Because we have to be like on screen together, Pasi. There's even a whole article. If you Google me, they're like, what is Lulu Hela and Pasi Koetle's relationship? Are they sisters? There's a whole article speculating that you and I are sisters. I'll send you the screenshots. Please. So we must make it happen.
I must make it happen.
Done.
Thank you so much, Lulu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Mommy Diaries.